Thank you for joining us today. My name is Virginia Rivera. I'm the Senior Director of Plan Giving for UC Santa Cruz. And I hope that you are all staying safe, staying well, and staying connected during these unprecedented times. We are going to take just another minute because we're hearing a number of people joining us, and we're expecting about 55 people today. So if you can just hang on for a minute, that would be appreciated. I think we'll move forward since I'm not hearing any more clicks, and we'll start the program. So thank you for joining us for the 2020 UC Santa Cruz 21st Century Club first virtual annual recognition event. We're here today to thank you for your past, present, and future support. This is an opportunity to offer this event to the more than 300 living members, not just those who live nearby. Today's agenda includes an introduction to our new Vice Chancellor for University Relations, Mark Davis. He will share brief remarks, and then I will come back after Mark's comments to give a summary of other plan giving activity. I've also invited the Associate Vice Chancellor for Philanthropy and 21st Century Club member, Jeff Schilling, to provide a short summary of our overall fundraising activity for last and this fiscal year. I believe that you will find the information hopeful, again, especially during this challenging year. Jeff will turn the program over to Chancellor Cindy Larive. She will offer remarks about the state of the campus and answer a couple of questions. After Cindy speaks, the Dean of Social Sciences, Katharyne Mitchell, will present information about the Division of Social Sciences, the Institute for Social Transformation, and why we must invest in UC, not cut for instruction, which is the title of an article that she recently co-authored. You all should have received an email containing the Institute for Social Transformation's first newsletter. I encourage you to sign up on its website to receive it directly. Mary Wells, a retiree, will follow Dean Mitchell and will share her reasons for including the university in her estate plans. And finally, I will provide some concluding remarks. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce you to the new Vice Chancellor for University Relations, Mark Davis.
Thanks, Virginia. Good afternoon, everyone. Great to be with you all. This week marks 2 months for me at UC Santa Cruz, and I have so much enjoyed my new relationship with this extraordinary community. I do hope that our present circumstances will change in the not too distant future so all of us can meet once again together in person. On behalf of the faculty, staff, and students of UC Santa Cruz, I wanted to add my voice to the many who will express their appreciation for your generous support of the university. This club was created to recognize and thank those whose foresight and planning will benefit future generations of students, researchers, and scholars. Our members are alumni, faculty, staff, and friends around the world who have made a legacy commitment to the UC Santa Cruz. You set an example for others to follow, providing leadership for vital infrastructure to grow a permanent resource for this great university. And your collective gifts enable the university to provide the highest quality educational experience that our students expect and deserve, and continue to advance the extraordinary research initiatives that will impact all our lives. Some of that research we'll be talking about later today. It is especially important to us in University Relations Division, as we are charged with the important work of engaging and stewarding the relationships with the university's alumni, parents, friends, and donors, which will enable the university and the parts of it that you value most to advance in the coming years in our work together in building a philanthropic and engaging culture at this university. Thank you again for participating today, and especially for your continued generosity. Virginia will now recognize the newest members of the university's Legacy Society. Virginia?
Thank you, Mark. So today I have the privilege of recognizing those new members, and they include 11 alumni: Dr. Raquel Arias, Porter College Psychology, BA in 1977, Susan Bach, alumna from Rachel Carson College, Environmental Studies, BA, David Dumble, a graduate alum from Applied Economics in 1994, Annette Erling and David Deifer. Annette is an alumna from Kresge College, a literature and linguistics major from 1988. Peter Kosenko, also an alumnus from Stevenson College, literature, 1977. Elaine Murakami, alumna from Stevenson College, environmental planning in 1976. Jim Price from Rachel Carson College, environmental studies and community studies in 1981. Jennifer Rocky, Cornell College psychology, class of 1985. Martin Schwartzky, Stevenson College psychology, class of 1988. And Jude Todd, who was both a faculty member and a graduate alumna from the history of consciousness and has a doctor of philosophy. We also have new members, including John and Vicki Pierce. Unfortunately, John Pierce passed away this year, but he did document his bequest before his passing. Staff donors include Sharon Dernberger, whose bequest will support the Arboretum, the Seymour Center, Shakes to Go, and the Silver Slug Endowment. Jeannie Callerup, whose bequest will support undergraduate scholarship endowment. And Mary Wells, whose bequest will support the Silver Slug Endowment and the UCSC Fund. You will be hearing from Mary later in the program. New this fiscal year are Charlie Haas from Porter College, a literature major, class of 1974, Catherine McHale, and Merrill College alumna with a class of 74 in Latin American Studies, and Catherine Sullivan, Cowell College, Earth Sciences, bachelor's, class of 1973. Okay. So we also have, I'd also like to recognize members who increased their future support last fiscal year. And they include Walter Rask for the Smith Society, Alec and Nancy Darr for Stevenson College, John Prairie for the Lick Observatory, George Hofford for nanotechnology, Jean Langenheim for the PB Science Graduate Fellowships, Jerry Wolf and Hal Coates for Special Collections. In addition, plan giving analyst Melody Corcus and I worked with various attorneys, trustees, and executors to receive bequests from the estates of Arnold Klemala for astronomy and astrophysics, Charles Frederick Andrews, a gift for the Arboretum, Catherine Metz for special collections, Kevin Ray for the Arboretum, John and Harriet Deck for both the Seymour Center and the Humanities, and Robert Seeker for the Lick Observatory. With the passing of Jack Baskin, his charitable remainder trust was terminated and the proceeds were designated to the Jack Baskin School of Engineering. Overall, in fiscal year 20, planned gifts totaled almost $5.5 million, and cash gifts from planned gift donors totaled nearly $1.2 million. These included the 17 bequest intentions, 4 life income gifts of charitable gift annuities and 2 charitable remainder trust additions, 11 realized estate and bequests, 3 terminated life income gifts, 63 IRA rollover program gifts, and 75 outright gifts. Okay, to date, planned gifts total nearly $1 million, and they include 3 bequest intentions, 6 others are in process, a realized estate gift, and 4 IRA rollover gifts. And now I'd like to introduce Associate Vice Chancellor for Philanthropy and 21st Century Club member Jeff Schilling. He will discuss overall fundraising activity.
Thank you, Virginia. Nice to be with you all this afternoon. It's, let's see if I can get my screen to advance here. Excuse me for just a minute. Some of you probably wondered, with all that was going on in the world, how is our fundraising going? We measure our fundraising results on a fiscal year from July to June. And so we ended fiscal year 1920 back on June 30th, which now all of a sudden seems like an eternity ago. But let me tell you, it's fun to think back on that because it was a banner year. Contributors to UC Santa Cruz helped us achieve our 3rd largest fundraising year ever with $53 million, just over $53 million in new charitable contributions. And plan gifts, as Virginia just said, in all of their various forms, new bequest intentions, realized legacy gifts, life income gifts, accounted for $6.5 million of that. And that is a number that just keeps rising year after year, thanks to all of your generosity and the good words that you're sharing with others to encourage them to pursue planned gifts. We also had a really striking result last year in that we had the largest number of $1 million plus gifts. We had 13 last year. The previous high was 10 gifts of $1 million or more in one year. So we take that as a really important sign that that donors are investing larger and larger amounts in the campus. And just to give you a sense for the scope of our gifts, we processed over 11,000 gifts and pledges last year. So fast forwarding to this year, I'm pleased to say that since July 1, we have raised over $10 million. And there's that $575,000 number that Virginia alluded to in new bequest intentions already this year. So as we head to the end of the first quarter of our fiscal year, $10.3 million raised, which compares quite favorably to last year at this time. Last year, we got off to the fastest start ever in UC Santa Cruz history. I took a look at the trailing 5 years prior to that, and our first quarter results for the trailing 5 years averaged about $5 million. So really, really encouraged to see that fundraising results thus far in the year are keeping pace with what was a really strong year last year. Now, part of that is due to 2 initiatives that I think you might be familiar with, but I wanted to give you a summary of those. Back in March, when we realized that we were going to have some real challenges associated with COVID-19, we uprighted 4 opportunities for donors to help out. The first is slug support, which goes directly to students for emergency funds. The second fund is something that we called RISE, which stands for Recover, Innovate, Support, and Educate. We're using those funds to facilitate the transition to a more online and remote learning environment for fall quarter, and I bet you'll hear more about that from the Chancellor. We've also been able to raise almost $250,000 for COVID-19 research, I think most of you probably know we've uprighted a diagnostic testing lab so that we have our own COVID-19 testing facility on campus for both campus use and to participate in the community testing program. So all in, we've raised nearly $1 million for COVID-19, and that's from over 800 donors. And then along came the wildfires. So we did a similar crowdfunding effort to support students in their emergency needs through slug support. We also uprighted an opportunity for donors to help faculty and staff. That fund has raised $68,000 so far to date. And we just have started to allocate those funds. We've had 68 applications for those funds from our faculty and staff. I understand that 16 of those applications are from families who have either lost their homes or had significant damage. The other applications are from folks who had very significant evacuation costs. We're giving out grants of $500, $1,000, and $1,700 to the faculty staff applicants. And it's, to my knowledge, it's the first time that we've been able to support faculty and staff in an emergency fund this way through the generosity of your generosity and people like yours. And then finally, a Bay Area Foundation, the Heising-Simons Foundation, stepped forward immediately when they saw the fires up on Mount Hamilton to help out with a $250,000 grant to help mitigate the damages that Lick Observatory sustained in the fire up there in the East San Jose foothills. So far, over 1,000 donors have supported the wildlife relief campaign. And so it's really in part through these two campaigns that represent the generosity of our community in a time of need that have really helped fuel our fundraising results to date. So I'm going to stop there. And I think now it's my privilege to introduce the Chancellor. I think most of you have met her or certainly heard from her. Cindy LaRive is our 11th Chancellor at UC Santa Cruz. She joined us on July 1st, just over a year ago. She came to UC Santa Cruz from UC Riverside, where she was the campus provost and executive vice chancellor. In addition to her administrative roles, she's a bioanalytical chemist. And I think one of the things that you'll see as a theme running through her comments today and really through her chancellorship over the years is a deep commitment to student success, inclusivity, and equity. So with that, Cindy, I'll hand it over to you.
Well, thanks so much, Jeff. And thanks too for the good news that both you and Virginia provided to all of us. It's so great to see you all here today in this virtual way that we're coming together. And of course, you probably hearken back to your early first days of school experience, whether those were at some other school or at UC Santa Cruz. You know that energy that the start of the academic year brings to everybody. It's still an exciting time, but in a different way. So students starting the academic year are either at the very beginning of their experience or in the middle of what will be a truly seminal and life-changing experience, their education at UC Santa Cruz. And of course, this academic year will not have the same in-person instruction or in-person events that we've enjoyed in the past, but it remains a new beginning for many of the students and for our campus. And it's special, I think, for us to be part of that experience, to sort of embrace this opportunity. I sometimes think as Chancellor, I'm surfing the wave of chaos here. And so if you watch surfers, you know, they embrace the waves and try and ride them to a successful conclusion. Hopefully I'm not going to wipe out, but if I do, I'll get back on my board. And so I also feel that while we are embracing you know, this opportunity we have to meet new students, to deliver our curriculum and support students in this remote way, and to explore what it means to be a community when we connect remotely, like this beautiful community we have here. We're kind of flexing our new tech muscles. some muscles I didn't know I had, but you know, coming together with you here today, I think is a great example of that. And so I'd like to start by from the bottom of my heart, thank you for the generosity that you have given us at UC Santa Cruz. Bequest intentions, which I understand many of you have either committed to or are considering, are such an important part of our philanthropy portfolio. And bequests and planned gifts support just about everything we do: scholarships, research, faculty, programs. Some of you choose unrestricted gifts, which the campus then has the flexibility to use for critical needs and one-time opportunities or to respond to a crisis. I've certainly seen how valuable that is in the last year. So regardless of where you direct your gift, know that it is greatly appreciated. I also want to say how grateful I am after hearing that so many of you contributed to our 2020 UCSC Wildfire Relief Fund and our COVID campaign. So thank you for investing not just in our future, but in our present. So I was asked recently about my goals as chancellor and whether they've changed in the face of COVID-19 and the wildfires. And the general upheaval that 2020 delivered to us all. And despite all of the challenges we have encountered, my goals for UC Santa Cruz have not changed. And if anything, the fallout from COVID-19, the fire, the social and civil unrest we've seen over the past 6 months, they remind me of what is truly important. And so at the top of that list, as Jeff alluded to, is student success. And so UC Santa Cruz has such a beautiful tradition of being really dedicated to students and to helping students achieve a new life, a new trajectory for their lives, and accomplish things that maybe we didn't think at the time we were students was even possible. So as a university, though, we have to be able to better serve our students, and especially those students who are first generation, students from low income backgrounds, and who many of whom may be traditionally underrepresented in higher education. We know that higher education has the ability to transform people's lives. You probably experienced that at UC Santa Cruz. And I want you to know that again this year, UC Santa Cruz ranked among the top 5 universities in the nation by US News and World Report for our contributions to social mobility. That means admitting, enrolling, and graduating students who receive Pell Grants and are from the lowest income families. So I'm first generation college student myself from a family of very modest means. And I understand some of the challenges that are faced by our students. But students today face a world that's much more complicated than the one I faced. And they have different challenges and they need different kinds of support. They need the tools that will empower them to take advantage of opportunities, whether that's in person or now remote. And so we have to make sure as a campus and as a community that our students aren't disadvantaged by COVID. And so much of the support that we received for our slug support and other programs has allowed us to help students be able to have the tools they need to access their remote classes and remote services. The second goal I have for the campus is to advance our research profile. This too is a place where UC Santa Cruz really shines. And when we think about student success, it is also graduate student success. And it is the success of our undergraduates who participate in research. And we know that about 70% of our undergraduates participate in research. For me, that was a life-changing experience. And I know it is for many of our students too. So in the last year, we were elected to the Association of American Universities, the AAU. That's the top 65 research universities in the United States. Sometimes when I try and explain what it means, I sort of talk about the AAU as the name brand universities, Princeton, Harvard, Caltech, and most of the UCs, now UC Santa Cruz as well. This is a tremendous accomplishment that was a campus goal for many years, and that is really a tribute to the chancellors before me, and mostly to our faculty, because the AAU recognition comes from really the productivity and the impact of the research that's going on at the university. In the spring, we were selected to join the Association of Pacific Rim Universities, the APRU, and this is a great way for UC Santa Cruz to advance our research reputation on the global stage. And I'm so excited that we have our first Nobel laureate among our faculty. So Professor Carol Greider has joined our Molecular Cell and Developmental Biology faculty. Carol received the Nobel Prize in Medicine or Physiology for her great work on telomeres, which is a part of the DNA replication machinery, and really it has importance not just for our understanding of DNA, but also for many diseases that are controlled by telomeres. And so I think all of that work is just very exciting for our campus, and I'm so proud of those achievements. If you can keep secret, I have some late breaking news that nobody else knows, and that is that our research grants last year were up 16%. That's remarkable. In a time where research funding really isn't growing at the national level, that our campus was able to increase the amount of grants that are coming to the university that enable that research, help our facilities, and also help in training of students. That's just really a great accomplishment of our faculty. And so I just want you to know that too, because we're doing our part. And so we appreciate the philanthropy that comes to the university as a way to help us do even more and even better. So my third goal, as Jeff alluded to, is to create an inclusive, diverse campus community. And so it's an imperative that all the members of our campus community feel welcome. And to solve the grand challenges that we face as a country and as a world, we have to have minds that are from all backgrounds, from all perspectives. We know that diverse teams are better problem solvers. And so the Black Lives Matter movement has been an important moment for us and for higher education in general. And, you know, as we work within the struggles of the historic structures that we face and the conditions that might make life more dangerous and precarious for people of color, we have a role to play in helping to make the world a better place at UC Santa Cruz. And it's really comes from our foundational belief in social justice and living up to those expectations as a campus. So transforming our university takes work, and we're still engaged in that work, but it's a great collaboration, and it's a collaboration that really invites students to be engaged in co-creation. And so I think there will be exciting things to share about that in the future. And then I've modified one of my goals slightly. So one of my goals was to have an administrative structure that's more efficient and effective. I've added to that goal to be also adaptable and resilient. And so that's certainly a theme in all of our lives, adaptability and resilience. And people at UC Santa Cruz have just done such a remarkable job in the last year, but we're stretched thin, and we have to make sure that our campus and our supports have the resilience that will help us to face whatever comes at us in the future. So many of you are probably curious about our fall plans, and there's been a lot of news reports, and you've seen what's happened at other universities. So 6 months into COVID, I can share that there's not one piece of our operation that hasn't been impacted. And so although instruction gets the headlines, everything we do, housing, research, the whole campus has required adjustments. It's sort of like building an airplane while you're trying to drive it down the runway. And we've lifted off and are sailing along pretty well. So our experience last spring with remote instruction, we really taken to heart about what worked and what didn't go as well as it could. And that gave us a head start in what we're preparing for the fall. So we created two task forces, a task force on academic recovery and resilience, and one on operational and employee recovery and resilience. And that involved more than 200 people from all parts of the campus coming together to plan for fall. And the advice that I got was that we should anticipate that the fall instruction will look a lot like the spring instruction, almost entirely remote. And so that was a wise course that we plotted in June. And as I've watched other universities have to reverse their directions, I'm really grateful that our campus had really planned on that. So just to give you an idea, we are planning for 6 in-person courses this fall, totaling a little over 50 students out of about 1,500 classes that we'll be offering this fall. And so people coming to campus will include staff and faculty who have to be there for various reasons. Obviously, the operations of the campus continue, and as we restarted research over the summer, there are faculty, students, and staff who are coming into campus to do research, as well as some of the other jobs that go on. We will be planning and are doing now regular testing for staff, faculty, and students who have a reason to be on campus. And we know that regular and inclusive testing is really critical to limiting the spread of the pandemic. And we've reduced the number of students that we plan to have on campus housing this fall. And so we have about 1,000 students living on campus this fall compared to normally about 8,500 or 9,000. And so these students all don't have somewhere else to be. They are students who either don't have housing or don't live in an environment off campus that would allow them to access instruction in the way that we're delivering it remotely. Also includes our family students who are year-round residents and some students in our graduate student housing. And so in addition, we're having regular education and communication with students about ways to be safe and to keep the community safe. We are applying to people's real sense of community. We have a Slug Strong campaign that emphasizes wearing masks, not gathering outside of households or congregating in large numbers. And I think our messages are going to help students avoid some of the problems we've seen at other universities. I also know that Sammy the Slug, who many of you are familiar with, is a pretty big guy with the big cheekbones, and the regular masks don't fit Sammy, but our art department created a mask for Sammy, and he participated in some videos yesterday. So as a way to help encourage students to behave in a safe and responsible way. And so our reduced housing this fall also acknowledges the impact of the fire. We know that over 900 area homes were destroyed and about another 100 were damaged. And so this lighter footprint we're having in the fall really helps with that too. So we reached out to students who were planning to live in the community this year and asked those who had not yet signed leases to ask themselves whether they really needed to be here, and if they didn't, to consider remaining at home. I feel so bad for students who want to be on campus, especially first-year students who've been looking forward to the college experience from home. And I also just feel bad for the many merchants and business owners in town who depend on our students to remain afloat. UC Santa Cruz is a huge economic driver in this community, and while the absence of in-residence students may help some, it's really going to make the economics more challenging. I'm hopeful that with a vaccine, that soon enough we'll be able to come back in a larger personal presence for a whole variety of reasons. You might have learned about our response to the fire, which came very close to campus. And I'll share with you, there was a night that I wrote 2 email messages to go out the next morning. and I called them best case scenario and worst case scenario. So I wrote them, I shed a few tears, and sort of went to bed thinking I was going to send out the worst case scenario message, which was that the fire had reached the campus. We didn't yet know how bad the damage was. And amazingly, overnight, the winds shifted, and we were able to send out our best case scenario message. And I'm going to be grateful for that for a long time to come. So ahead of that, we had proactively evacuated about 1,200 students from our campus. And we tried to do that with minimal impact on the community. So many of our students relocated with friends and families. Others were taken to the University Town Center, which the campus has downtown, and to various Santa Cruz hotels, the Carousel Inn, the Sea and Sand Inn. And I have to give a big thank you out to the Seaside Company, who let us use the Coconut Grove as a staging area. The Seaside Company runs the boardwalk. I don't know how many of you have been in the Coconut Grove. It's in a great ballroom. And it was where we used as a staging area to put evacuees first while we figured out where they would go. And we also got to use their catering kitchen for our dining services team, who set up shop and served meals out of the kitchen. So even prior to the fire, the campus has been providing about 1,000 meals a day to various county sites, which were COVID shelters. And during the evacuation, that jumped to 3,000 meals today that UC Santa Cruz was providing to people in area shelters. And so that was really a tribute to all of those folks. And I saw the food. It looked amazing. We've been trying to make sure employees who've been affected by the wildfire have the help they need and aren't a further drain on our community. We streamlined support services, created 2 hotlines for employees in need, one for providing emergency housing assistance and another for general questions. And as Jeff said, we've also been offering emergency loans, as well as counseling support and administrative leave. And the foundation and the Alumni Association came together to form that UCSC Wildfire Relief Fund. And I know a number of you contributed to that. And that our support for our staff and faculty is not ending now that the fire has. We'll continue to respond to those in need with creativity, heart, and a generous spirit. So I'd like to end on a positive note. And so one of the biggest challenges our country has faced in the COVID-19 fight has been the limited capacity of diagnostic testing to determine who is infected. So our scientists and staff saw the opportunity to fill the gap, which we would have felt very profoundly here in Santa Cruz. So our faculty have expertise in RNA, molecular biology, virology, vaccine development, and we also have ecology and evolutionary biology scientists who study infectious disease dynamics. We have lab space. And so we pivoted, and many of our scientists and researchers dropped their long-time research projects and worked to launch the UC Santa Cruz Molecular Diagnostic Lab, which has run thousands of tests a day for our campus health center and for area not-for-profit healthcare providers. And they're providing COVID-19 test results in less than 48 hours, often less than 24 hours. And we do that at cost. And so it's not an aim of ours to make any money on that, but just to really try and help people in need in our community. Right now, we're working in partnership with the Santa Cruz Community Foundation and Salud para la Gente and the Santa Cruz Community Health Clinics to provide testing. And we also have a partnership with Santa Cruz County that's helped us to expand our testing capacity. County leaders have directed over $800,000 in Federal CARES Act funding to the lab. That's allowed us to buy the equipment we needed to really expand our throughput. And so it shows the great example of partnerships. So right now we're able to provide about 400 tests a day, and we'll be continuing to ramp up those numbers over the next few weeks. And so I'm just so proud of the work of our researchers and scientists. They're the best in their fields, and in the Santa Cruz tradition here, they're doing things that have real impact on people's lives. And so it's great that we've been able to come together with our region and our county and really show the power of problem solving in facing this pandemic. So if there's any time left, Virginia, I'd be glad to answer a couple of questions.
Thank you, Chancellor. There's 2 questions in the chat room. The first is, you are a champion of the campus and of the environment. At many private institutions like Stanford, people claim that the visual environment is an integral part of a full education. A similar argument has been used among some people at UCSC to defend maintaining the beautiful farm on the main campus rather than moving it to a remote area like Watsonville. Do you have other reasons as well to keep the farm on the main campus rather than relocating it?
Oh, thank you. That's an interesting question. I hadn't heard that there had been discussion of doing that in that way in the past. So you may know I'm from South Dakota, and although my dad worked at a mine, we also had a small 30-acre farm. It was a subsistence kind of farm. We grew animals and vegetables to help us have our dinner. I love the farm, and it's such a beautiful, beautiful place. And I love that aspect of the farm that allows students to be engaged in the farm. And so I could imagine expanding the farm to another location, but I don't imagine that we would abandon our current practices here. So that would certainly, nothing like that is on my radar screen, but I will easily affirm my commitment to our great farm.
Okay, there's 2 more questions. I'm going to try and move along quickly. Are we doing everything we can to get students to exercise their rights and fulfill their duties as voters? You sent out an announcement urging one and all to vote. Are there other measures that have been or could have been taken?
Yeah, I would say we are taking them. So that was a first message. And there's a program within the UC that's called CalPERG. And these are UC students. We have a group here at UC Santa Cruz that they take on various activities. And one of their activities is voter registration and encouraging students to vote. So I met with them yesterday, and they also have some messages that I'll be sending on their behalf to the campus. We also plan to have a ballot place where you can drop off ballots here on campus. Now, this is going to be an election that's different than any we've really experienced recently, but there's a lot happening on campus for encouraging people to vote. I think the Institute for Social Transformation is offering some workshops or webinars on that, and you'll see many other activities from various corners of the university to encourage both our students but also the general public to exercise our democratic rights and responsibilities in this election.
Great, there's one more question. And after this, if you wouldn't mind introducing Katharyne Mitchell.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. You inherited the East Meadow problem immediately, were confronted by the graduate student strike, hit the COVID crisis while that was still going on, and recently had to deal with the possibility of the forest fires hitting the campus. On top of that, you have all of the tremendous stress the rest of us are facing. How on earth do you maintain any version of equanimity and hope?
Oh, well, I think there's 2 answers to that. One is that I'm just somehow by nature an optimistic person. And so while I'm dealing with the crisis of the day, I'm also looking to the 2, 3, 5, and 10-year futures of this great university. UC Santa Cruz is an amazing university, and we have such a promising future. And so that keeps me really energized. The second part of that is that although as chancellor, I have the privilege to lead this university, I don't do it alone. There are so many great members of our team here at UC Santa Cruz. It includes the deans, vice chancellors, the facilities staff, our faculty, everybody else. And it is because we're a team, we're a community, that we can really embrace these challenges, and always keeping in mind what's most important part of any university, it's our people. So with that, I'd have the great privilege to introduce to you Dean Katharyne Mitchell. Dean Mitchell is the Dean of our Social Sciences Academic Division, and she is by training a geographer, which has really great benefits in this time as we're trying to understand the complex world. And so, Katharyne, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Cindy. It's such a delight to be here, and can't wait to share everything that's going on in the social sciences and in the Institute for Social Transformation. And I wanted to just take a moment before I start to co-answer two of the questions that were posed to you. First, the farm is so important for this campus because we do a lot of research on the farm that is directly impacting things like climate change. We're doing work on cover crops that are how they hold the nitrogen in the landscape, et cetera. And we've done work on strawberries that have affected many of the farms around us. And that research is what the students can be directly involved in, having the farm here. And perhaps they could in Watsonville as well, but it's not quite the same thing. I feel like they can be in the classes and environmental studies, and then they can go and put their hands in the dirt and really learn about how to do research firsthand. And then the second question about voting, we have a sociologist, Veronica Tariquez, who initiated a Central Valley Freedom Summer campaign last summer, and she registered mostly Latinx students and young people to vote by using Latinx students and young people to talk with other people in the community. And that's something that we're really proud of in the social sciences, that we engage with the community, with our students, recognizing that they have assets rather than deficits, that they're bringing first generation students. They may not know how to operate as well in the university as some of their peers, but they know their communities and they are often bilingual. And we bring those students into research projects so that those assets they bring to us really become apparent to them as well. And it produces this incredible sense of belonging and confidence, and is something that I think helps them in their path to student success that you were talking about earlier. So with that, I'm going to say thank you again, and thank you everybody who's here. It's a beautiful day, so I really appreciate you giving us the time to talk to you. I'm going to try to share here so I can go directly to giving you some examples. See if we can do that. And go up here. And I'm going to look over. Are we good, Virginia? Just give me a thumbs up if I'm good. Okay, thanks.
Yes.
So today I'm just going to talk a little bit about the social sciences and then give you some examples of what we're doing in the Institute for Social Transformation. So as you probably all know, we have 8 departments and about 10 research centers in the division. And I'm not going to spend any time on this because most people know what goes on in these departments, and hopefully some of you have been in them. Graduated from them, but a couple I want to pull out, and like all good parents, I love my children equally, but I'm just going to point to a couple for a lack of time to go over every one. So environmental studies is unique in the sense that it has people trained in both the natural sciences and the social sciences. And when we put those two groups together, amazing things happen, because they learn from each other in ways that it's a little bit harder to do. It's still possible, but it's a little bit harder to do when you cross over divisions. So that is a unique experiment. Not many places, not many universities have that kind of double advantage in among their faculty. I'd also like to point out Latin American and Latino studies here. That is also very unusual. Most campuses do not have something that combines both regional and an ethnic studies focus in one department. And one of the things that's exciting about this department is just recently, we were invited to be part of a national research consortium on Latinx studies. And the chair of LALS, Gabriela Arredondo, is on a Mellon Planning grant to help us in that national consortium, and they're pulling together both the R1 or top level research universities that Cindy was alluding to in the AAU with other HSI, which is Hispanic serving institutions. They're pulling those together to look at how we can better serve Latinx students on campus and also do better research. And then finally, I just wanted to point out that education, many universities have education schools or colleges with 60 or 80 faculty. We have a department of 10, but they are more than pull their weight, and they have just started a really exciting new major called, let's see if I can pull it together. Yeah, Education, Democracy, and Justice. And we have 400 minors in education, and I think they're minors because they couldn't be majors up till now. And I think we will almost instantaneously get 400 majors, and well, then it'll be a problem of what we have so many people want to take this. What are we going to do? But that's the kind of problem to have, as they say. Okay, so I also wanted to show you a little bit of what we do in our division in terms of our undergraduate success. We account for almost a quarter of all campus majors on campus, and psychology alone has 1,000 majors. That's a huge percentage. It's up there with computer science as the top of the top 2 most popular majors on campus. Those 4 majors go into the number of undergraduate degrees granted, which is again close to 50% of the total campus degrees. And one of the reasons that I'm most proud of that is that what it really shows is that we're holding on to our students throughout their entire time here, because most people, about 40% who come in, say they want to take the social sciences, and we graduate about 40%. So some will flow into different directions, and we get some students in from other divisions, so it's not always exactly the same people. But in general, it just shows that we're doing a really good job in advising and in helping people to get through the programs. Who are these students? In terms of the campus average, we graduate more women, we graduate more first-generation students, and we graduate more underrepresented minorities on campus than any of the other divisions. So just to pick out URMs, we're at 42%, and other divisions make up 36%. And that's quite a significant difference, actually. So that's just wanting to let you know that we really value these students. They bring freshness, perspective, they bring diversity, they bring all the assets I was talking about earlier in terms of understanding their communities, often are bilingual. And we're really delighted and proud to have these students. At the same time, there are some challenges that come, especially with first-generation students. And as you can see, there's an overlap between first-generation and URMs. 84% of our first-gen students in the division are non-white. And the challenges have to do with sometimes a less awareness in the household, the families they're coming from, of how to navigate college, because they haven't had anyone who's ever gone to college before. And so that's where things like advising and close faculty relationships are really critical for us to help us in our quest to get students through and to reduce any kinds of attainment gaps between different groups on campus. So I've given you some numbers here, but numbers can be a little bit dry and sterile and boring. And so what I like to do is always put a little bit of flesh on the bone, so to speak, and to show you how beautiful our students are. And this always makes me smile, this picture. This is our 2020 Student Award recipients. And when I have a bad day, and over the last year, there have been a few. Like Cindy, I'm also an optimist, but I have to say, one hit after another was a certain moment. I was thinking, I'm not sure I'm going to make it. But whenever I have a day like that, I open up this picture and I realize I'm so lucky. I have one of the best jobs on this campus and one of the best jobs in the country, because these are our kids, and I shouldn't say kids, I know, but this is how I feel about them. These are our amazing young adults, and when I look at them, I see that they give us something that all human beings need, and that thing is hope. I really need it right now, and I have to say, they are the future for us. They're learning the skills that we need to have them to learn to turn things around, to turn climate change around, to make sure our democracy endures. This is the group that's going to do it for us. And we are giving them those skills. So I wanted to just give you a couple of the quotes from a couple of our students after receiving these awards. The awards, most of the awards in the social sciences are based on both merit and some kind of a commitment to public service. Not all, but many of them. And the reason is because of incredible donors like you all, who often were alumni, usually are alumni, realize that that's what we're about on this campus. We're about service, and we're about giving back. And so many of the awards have that, you know, need, merit, and service component. And as a result, these students have, the quotes that I'm going to read you are connecting the importance of this to themselves as individuals and researchers and people going out into the world, but also to their ability to keep giving back to their own communities. So this is a quote from Reed Asselby. It's for the Zimmerman Award that he won. And he said, "This scholarship means that I can conduct research for my undergraduate thesis in legal studies, which I will begin writing this upcoming fall. I am honored to be selected for this award that recognizes my work thus far, and it motivates me to continue cultivating change within my community." And then here's another quote, just one more. Angie Valencia, who won the Weiss Family Award. "This scholarship is a blessing for my family and me. It will help to alleviate some financial stress to pay for my education. I am fortunate to receive this scholarship as it serves to motivate me further to finish my last year at UCSC strong, as well as give me hope for my academic future." So that's the kind of student that you want to have, and that's who we do have. So now, how do we support those students in other ways? So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Institute for Social Transformation, and you'll see the Institute is about supporting faculty and students, and I don't think there should be a differentiation there, because at a research university, good faculty who are doing interesting research and are productive and fruitful and happy make for good teachers. And happy and good teachers make for happy and good students. And so it's a total one size thing here. It's not something I want to separate. And I'll show you how that works by going to some of the things that we're funding through the Institute for Social Transformation. And just to give you a little background on the Institute. So this is something that I came here 3 years ago from UW, and there was a really amazing humanities center that was very ecumenical. It brought, you know, I was a geographer. It welcomed me in. I got a lot of grants for them. I served in the executive board, and they had grants that help people to cross disciplinary divides and do all kinds of different things. And when I came here, I said, "You have an amazing humanities institute here, but they're really not funded enough to help others. The humanities are, they need something else as well." And so we started I started this institute with the idea of incubating research that's going on here, and as well as amplifying it, and also continuing research that's going on. So here we are on the Institute, and I'm going to, okay, something happened here, but I'm going to unshare my screen and then move over to see if I can get to do this myself. Hold on a second. All right. Can you all see the Institute? Okay, good. So this is right here, some of the things that we are funding. So I wanted to show you here, this is from the Institute for Social Transformation's website, some of the awards that we are using to fund faculty research. And then I'm going to show you some of the awards we use to fund student research, and the two come together. So first, let's go to awards that fund faculty research. We give small ones, and this is to help them network, which is one of the goals of the Institute, is to get people out there and connecting to each other, both on campus and outside. And so there's the small grants just to help them connect up. And then we have Sprout grants, which are a little larger, where they can actually go do research and continue on with finding the data they need. And then Harvest grants, which is how they can help to launch that research out into the world. And the way that I'm going to show you how successful this is to go to some of the fellows and to show you the kinds of things that they're doing with these little different level grants. So these are the seed grants, and they're, as you can see, quite diverse in terms of the things that they're doing. And Sprout grants, a little bit more in depth, the kinds of things they're doing, remapping race and research in the first 2 decades of the 20th century, looking at the human genome. Jeff and LALS looking at deportation and dispossession of migrants. David's work is on climate change, and he's got research money for that. Flora is working also on climate change and environmental justice. And then just to click down here, also another one on environment here, Hillary, who's done a research report on climate, and that has come out as a report that we have been able to put up on the website and get out to various organs and other media outside. So that is one thing I wanted to show you, is kind of research support that we're doing. But now I want to show you the connection to the students. And this is one of the programs I'm the most proud of, and it's the result of a major donation from people like you who I went to and said, okay, we have amazing research faculty doing incredible research, and we have amazing students, but the students often, especially the first gen and URM and low income students, they don't have the money where they can help a faculty member because they need to be working in order to make ends meet. So what we decided to do is to say, what about if we paid them to be able to do research with a faculty member? And so we have to pay them enough that it's better than getting a job at Starbucks. So what we've done is that these students, we set it up as a fellowship because then they don't lose their financial aid. But essentially what they're doing is getting paid $15 an hour for 100 hours a quarter, and they can work for up to 2 or 3 quarters with a single faculty member to do research with the faculty. And this program we piloted, we have enough money for 5 years with 500 students, and we piloted it this summer. And you say, what can you do in a remote environment? And I can't even tell you how successful this program has been. And I think if we're going to retain students through this difficult year ahead, especially after November 3rd, this is the program that's going to keep them, because they are forming these relationships with the faculty. An important part of the program is the mentorship that the faculty gives. So they're not allowed to just say, oh, go do this research for me and come back in 3 months. The faculty members work with these students really closely. They meet them at least once a week. And that creates a sense of belonging and community that enables people to stick it out in what the many bad days that we have in these kinds of moments in our society these days. So I'm really, really proud of this program, and we would love to expand it. So if anybody's interested in expanding this, please send me an email and we will help you to do that. So see, one more thing I wanted to show you at the Institute, some of the other things that we're doing. So we, in terms of areas of work, Cindy mentioned some of the ways that we've turned around really rapidly to deal with current crises, one after another. And we put together this website very quickly to show the research that's being done on campus, particularly in the social sciences, but in other places as well. So we just wanted to, we put this up so we could help to amplify the research we're doing and get that kind of, agglomerative effect of, for grant makers. They say, oh, Santa Cruz is the place to give money to. Look what they're doing. It's incredible. But we also wanted to put this up so that we could see each other and say, oh, look, Craig is doing work on this. Craig Haney's working on the lasting effects of isolation for all of us, based on his work on solitary confinement in prisons. And he's been cited by so many different places. The New York Times is just the start of it. And same with people like Rob Fairley, who's been working on the differential impact of the economic closures on African-American businesses. And so this is just a sample of the kinds of work that we're doing on, this is purely on COVID. So this is just the last 3 months, 3 to 6 months that all this work is coming out, including people helping with contact tracing using economics modeling, all kinds of things on quarantine and other things going on from the Science and Justice Research Center over here. So this is just, I just wanted to give you a little bit of taste of the kind of stuff we're doing in the social sciences, because while it's so important to look at the biological component of things like COVID, I would argue the social component is equally important. And again, they're interlocked. We shouldn't ever think of them separately. Okay, so then I'll get off my soapbox here and just get one more thing that I wanted to show you, which was the ways that we're in the media. Here are some of the kinds of op-eds and other kinds of articles that we're writing outside of the academy. And in the Social Institute for Social Transformation, we just did a Twitter workshop for faculty a couple days ago on how you can get your research to have more of an impact. And that was attended by 50 faculty and grad students, and we'd like to have it even bigger, given that we can do that remotely. We'd like to have it as big as possible. Every once a quarter, or once every 2 quarters, we do how to write an op-ed to get it into somewhere. You can see I wrote an op-ed up here. Many of our faculty do op-eds, and then we also connect up scholars across the division to be able to work together through showing what other people are doing. And then, so finally, I just wanted to show you in the news. This is, see if this is the right click. Okay, yeah, so, oh, well, I'll just show you that we're right now in the middle of this election series, and so please join us. If you go to the website, you can see that I've done 2 of these election series forums, and the Institute is partnering with University Relations on this, and they've been excellent, really excellent, and we have 2 more to go, and they're recorded. So if you get a chance, please sign up. You can go to events on the Institute for Social Transformation website, and you see all the things that we've got planned. Okay, I'm going to stop now because I think you probably got your fill of that, but if you have any questions, I'd love to answer them. And I also just want to say thank you for listening to me, and thank you for your generosity in supporting the university.
Thank you, Katharyne. If people do have questions, can we have them email and we'll forward the questions to you? Yeah, sure. I need to keep the program moving, but I'm really grateful. Sorry. It was wonderful. No, it was a wonderful presentation, and I want to thank Cindy as well. Her presentation was very comprehensive, and I know that our guests probably appreciate it. But now I'd like to introduce Mary Wells. She retired from the university in June of 2007 after working since the mid-1970s at the university. Her career began in admissions outreach, and she was subsequently recruited to university relations. Mary served on the UCSC Retirees Association board for many years. For the past several years, she has led an effort to establish a Silver Slug Scholarship Endowment. It benefits current staff and/or their dependents who are attending UC Santa Cruz. You may hear more about it from Mary. Mary, unmute yourself.
Mute. Okay, I'm unmuted now. I'm actually a little humbled here to be a part of this program. I'm so glad to hear all the wonderful things that are going on. Virginia, I think, covered my connection to UCSC. I fell in love with the campus when I came to attend a program, and I was working on a master's degree actually at Cal State Long Beach, and wanted to move here, wanted to work at the university, and volunteered my services in career and disabled student services. And from there began working in admissions as an outreach officer, and then later on transferred and helped with alumni affairs and fundraising in university relations. And I love and appreciation for the campus and its vision and its programs has always remained. I was quite happy to join the Retirees Association after I retired and help them with fundraising for a scholarship they had that was for veteran students who are another form of reentry students. And from there, going back to my background in alumni and admissions, I was quite aware of staff who had never had the opportunity to complete a degree. And talking with some of my former friends like Sharon Dernberger in admissions, and we decided that it would be good for the Retirees Association to support staff. And so we developed the Silver Slug Award to provide scholarships to staff to complete a degree, and also for their dependents, any staff or dependent of staff with financial need. And I'm very proud we've been able to award some really outstanding students through that process. And we've developed an endowment for it. And so I knew that I definitely wanted to do everything I could to help grow that endowment. And so when it came to updating my will, I decided that certainly my IRA would be a good place to start, because of the fact that nonprofits are not taxed on IRAs. So that's what I've designated. And as I said, I wanted to help build the endowment for the Silver Slug Award. Recently, I became intrigued with the UCSC fund, realizing that, and the UCSC fund being a fund that can be used for anything, not just for what I want it to be used for, and any ego part of it. And I can really see its value. And I think this year, with all that's been going on with COVID-19 and the fire, et cetera, I'm not quite sure, but I imagine that those kinds of funds, the UCSC fund, has been very handy. And so my decision, was to take half of that and put it towards the UCSC fund. And I trust our current chancellor and all the chancellors in the future to be able to use those funds in what is most needed at the time. I think I'm just going to end there. We'll keep this short. And thank you again for giving me an opportunity to speak about that.
Thank you, Mary. I'll just add that the Silver Slug Endowment, it was the second endowment that the UCSC Retirees Association created. The first was the Bruce Lane Endowment, which does indeed support military veteran students. And those are the first two in the UC system. So it's really a noteworthy achievement from that group. So thank you, Mary. Thank you, all of our speakers. I really appreciate your participation. But before we go, I have a few more comments to make. So I'm hoping that my analyst, Melody Korkos, will go right to that slide. I wanted to remind people about these recent tax legislations. They include the CARES Act, which stands for the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, the SECURE Act, which stands for Setting Every Community Up for Retirement Enhancement, and the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017. These acts contain provisions that may enable you to maximize your philanthropy and minimize your tax liability. I can provide you with summary information that can help you and your financial advisors determine if any of the provisions may benefit you. So please let me know if you'd like more information. I also want to bring your attention to our upcoming annual Giving Day. It is our 5th one, and it's scheduled for Wednesday, September 30th. I realize that many of you have already supported our emergency funds, and I thank you for that. Giving Day is focused on supporting the student groups and programs that will need your help this year, especially given that most of the work is going to be done remotely. This will help them continue to engage with each other. Furthermore, this event is in need of matching and challenge gifts. So if you or anyone you know might be interested, please let me know. I have one more opportunity I want to mention because you are among our most dedicated supporters. It's about the Hellman Fellows. It was created with a $3.5 million gift from the Warren and Chris Hellman Foundation, and it was used to establish the UC Santa Cruz Society of the Hellman Fellows. It's a permanent endowment supporting early career faculty, those that are in 2 to 4 years into their career at UC Santa Cruz, and approximately 23 matching gifts of $150,000 each are available. Each new fund of $300,000 will initially pay out $12,750, providing flexible use funds to early career faculty. And donors have up to 5 years to complete their commitments. Naming opportunities such as the Jane Doe Fellowship in the Society of Hellman Fellows are available, and donors may express a preference for which discipline their fund supports. Awarding of the fellowships will be done annually by the Vice Provost of Academic Affairs. Note that this is a competitive process. And again, if you are interested or if you know of others who are interested, please let me know. We hope you are staying connected, and we are offering a plethora of Zoom events. Upcoming events include elections, which Katharyne just mentioned. Also the opening reception for Barring Freedom, that one's happening on Wednesday, October 14th, and the CRAW lecture, Hunting for Infections, One Molecule at a Time. Finally, I'd like to thank my plan giving analyst, Melody Korkos, and the special events team, including Kristen Palma, Diana Hogue, and Paulina Fisher, for helping to organize today's events. And you will all be receiving a survey regarding today's events. I would appreciate your taking a few minutes to provide your feedback. Now, I'd like to ask you all to turn on your video or cameras. As is our tradition, we are going to attempt to capture today's audience with virtual snapshots. So again, on behalf of UC Santa Cruz, I thank you for your past, present, and future support. Your gifts enable the university to provide the highest quality education that our students expect and deserve. And I thank you for joining us. I'm actually going to stay on Zoom for a few minutes in case any of you have questions or would just like to chat. Thank you all.
All right, I'm going to take one more screenshot of each page, and then you can go about your business. In other words, cheers. All right. Smile. And there we go. Thank you so much for participating.
Thank you. Hi, Barry and Rusty. Sheila, Benita, see. Who else I can see? Donna Blakemore. It's been a while.
I'm still muted. Mary, that was great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Alec and Nancy Dar.
It was very nice to hear your story.
Oh, thank you. I felt not very well prepared, but
You did a great job, Mary.
okay.
Definitely.
Does anyone have any questions? No? Okay. Jim, I
Okay.
see your name. Rita, I'm glad you were able to join us today. Hi, Nancy.
Hi. How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Oh, great. Thank you. I'm at work. That's one good thing about doing this. I don't have to go home for it.
Oh, good. Thank you. Alec mentioned he's at home and you were at
Yeah.
work today.
Yeah, he doesn't have a camera, but I do at work, so.
Oh,
Okay. Hopefully we caught you in a snapshot and you could represent
Well,
both of you.
I just opened it, so I didn't realize my camera was shut off. Oh.
Well, there's an event tonight that I think Alex said he was gonna view, and he also viewed last night's. Yeah,
we
tonight
did.
at David Hausler. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we're looking forward to that. You know, that would have been my next best class. I loved biology, and it interests me tremendously. I like hearing what he has to say.
Me too. And last night was about elections. The night before
Oh,
was
yes, and
Margaret
she
Atwood.
she was very good. I really enjoyed both of those. Very, very good.
Yes, as did I.
A very well-read, well-spoken lady. I appreciated what she had to offer.
Thought-provoking, I thought.
Oh, yeah. Her books are, definitely.
Yeah.
My first one was The Blind Assassin, and I said, what the heck is this, the first time I read it? It was very interesting and very different from a lot of things I've ever read, so.
Yeah. She was visionary in some of those early books.
Oh,
yeah.
yes, and extremely so, which is, in this day, it's really great, you know, to see someone whose thought makes you think about it, and it's actually, some of it seems entirely probable.
Unfortunately. Yeah.
Unfortunately, and that's what's kind of scary. I've also just recently read one of the other series, and I can't think of the name at the moment, but it's very visionary also, very different.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, well, if there aren't any questions from the group, I think we can end the Zoom session.